This is in reference to Dr. Paul Krugman's article in the New York Times on January 5th, 2015, The President and the Economy. And Dr. Krugman gives us a little bit of a history lesson, and it's good that he does, because right now the economy is going up, wages are actually going up, there's less unemployment, the economy is moving ahead, and Obama's ratings are going up. And this is presenting a quandary for our friends on the Republican side who basically want to run against the economy again in 2016. So if this continues, let's say for the next year and a half, what is it the Republicans can run on? And Dr. Krugman gives us a little bit of a lesson about whether or not the president actually has a great deal of influence on the economy. And in most cases, the answer is no. That if there is some problems with the economy that would be affected, that need to be affected, that's the wrong word, but that need to be corrected, that is usually done by the Federal Reserve. And he goes back to the early 1980s when inflation was sky high. Paul Volcker was the head of the Federal Reserve at the time, and he bit the bullet, and inflation was high for a long time. Then it came down, he made the credit market tight. Inflation went up for a while. It decreased wages, or I can't remember the exact term, brought things down. And then he was able to open up the credit markets as interest rates had gone down, and the economy took a boom. And of course, Reagan took credit for all that. That was his Morning in America bullshit. And of course, Republicans like to always talk about the 16 million jobs that were created in the Reagan administration. Of course, they don't talk anything about Bush 1. They don't talk about the 22 million that were created in the Clinton administration. And I believe that the overall effect of the Bush 2 administration, the 8 years from 2001 to 2009, basically barely created a million, because it went down a little bit right when he came in, then it went back up, and then remember the last couple months of 2008 and then early the January of 2009 where he has to take credit for some of that. They were losing $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 a month. So what he's trying to say is, we make this big thing about the president's affecting the economy. They really haven't affected the economy that much. But then he goes on to say that in this particular case with Obama, yes, there has been a case where he has affected the economy. Number one, he did have the stimulus. And as many people have said, and Dr. Krugman has pointed out on many occasions, is that the stimulus was way too low. It should have been much higher. But Obama got about as much as he could possibly get to the Congress. He probably should have gone for much more and then accepted what he got, but he should have gone for much more, at least to let everyone know that he was going for much more. And that most economists who are not political hacks, who get paid by doing absolute research and don't get paid by the Heritage Foundation, the American Enterprise Institute, the Cato Institute, etc., if they're not a political hack, then they would say that yes, the stimulus did help the economy. It did help the economy at a crucial time. And what was the Federal Reserve doing at that time? Well, the Federal Reserve, was basically, we call it their quantitative easing. We say they were printing money. And remember, at this whole time, the Republicans were screaming and yelling that there was going to be runaway inflation, that interest rates were going to go way up. And of course, that never happened. And of course, they were bullying the Federal Reserve. And Dr. Krugman points out that it was a good thing that Obama was there, because he was basically covering the back of the Federal Reserve, saying, you do what you got to do, and don't let these guys bully you or anything. So let's just remember here, he gave a sore throat today, but Dr. Krugman basically indicates that the stimulus worked, that that the Federal Reserve, with Obama around, not being bullied by the Republicans, allowed them to do what they needed to do to help the economy continue, and we're seeing some of the fruits of that labor right now. And now, again, like I like to say again, do we have a long way to go? Yes. Do we still need to have economic growth? Yes. Do we still need to reduce the unemployment rate? Yes. Do we still need to have higher wages? Yes. Do we still need to invest money in education? Yes. Dr. Krugman points out that a lot of the gains in employment that Reagan had, or a number of them, had to do with the fact that he increased, the federal employment rate, whereas the federal employment rate in this Obama administration is down almost 20%. And that 20% should be replenished because we need good and effective government. We need a very strong SEC. We need a strong consumer, whatever board that is, consumer board. We need some very strong agencies doing the things that they need to do. Remember chemical spill in the rivers in West Virginia a couple months ago? Yeah, they indicted that guy. Where were the inspectors ahead of time so something like that wouldn't happen? Remember the coal mine that caved in 3 or 4 years ago in West Virginia? Man, it was also West Virginia. Well, they indicted that guy recently too. But again, where were the inspectors before that had to happen? We need to invest in that so that we can have these things. And of course, we talk about the coal ash or the coal tar, whatever it is that's at many of these power plants, very, very unregulated, can break the retainers that we keep that sludge in, can break at any time. So we need strong government. So and of course that's not going to happen with any of these Republicans around because they have a completely scorched earth policy. They just want to cut taxes and say free up business and cut out unduly regulation. Did unduly regulation cause that chemical spill in West Virginia? That coal mine that collapsed in West Virginia 3 or 4 years ago, which they finally indicted that guy a couple months ago? Was that overburdensome regulation? The tar sludge, or the coal tar sludge, or whatever it's called, that is at power plants all around the United States that have very, very small retaining walls that they keep them in, and they have broken through a number of times. So those regulations, should they be brought up? Should we find some economical way to reduce that, to get rid of that, recycle's not a good word, but to find a way to do all of that? Yes, we need to do all of that stuff. And remember, just to bring up his last point, is that the Republicans have been crying about increased inflation. They've been crying about the interest rates are going up, and it hasn't gone up because the Federal Reserve had done the right thing. We had the stimulus that helped help the economy. Because remember, when money was put into people's hands that needed the money, they're going to spend that money. When you give a tax break to a rich person, they don't need to spend the money because they're already spending enough money that they want to spend. They're just going to invest that and just make it harder for us to buy commodities, so to speak. So. And of course, Dr. Krugman is basically saying, the reason why things are working right now is because Obama's in office, and it wouldn't be the case if those other jerk-offs were in office. And of course, we're coming into a new cycle. They're all going to get sworn in real soon, and we'll see what type of gentlemen and ladies they decide that they want to be. Do they really want to help the economy, or do they really want to help rich people?